What side we agree with.
On our training piece for today, before we go, the one thing that I did see at Tom Ferry that was refreshing was this concept that you and I have been talking about for a long time. And I want to break it down quickly in the next 6 minutes. Tom Ferry gets up there in his very first presentation, and he talks about speed. And he says, in order for any of this to make any sense, you have to implement quickly. Now, why do you think it takes agents so long to do anything?
For me, I think what it comes down to is agents are terrified of making mistakes. Yep. And I don't think it's their fault. I think, number one, that's a human element. I think we're all paranoid of making mistakes. But number two, when you make a mistake and you're on salary, it doesn't sting as bad. Gotcha. When you make a mistake and you're in commission, you realize, hey, I just set myself back another 60 days from getting a transaction. And I think that's the lens that agents are viewing it at, is that if I make a mistake, it sets me back from a paycheck, which is very true to an extent. But I would also argue the opposite is true. The quicker that you make mistakes, the quicker that you hit your paycheck. What would you say, though?
No, I'm a big fan of speed. I mean, you and I were just working on a new thing for the team. How long did it take us to put that together?
45 minutes.
45 minutes.
And it's a total dismantling of a program.
So if you know what you're doing, or you trust in the person that is telling you what to do, it should be quick. It should be fast. Now, if you're a perfectionist, don't beware with covering your insecurity and calling it perfectionism. Too many people say that they're a perfectionist. You're not actually a perfectionist. You're just insecure. To your point, you don't want to make a mistake. You want everything to be perfect because you don't want to be judged negatively. So agents, whether it's this podcast, whatever podcast, or you're in Boo's coaching corner that loves coaches, implement quickly. Implement quickly, because then you'll know. If it works, great. You did it faster, you're farther ahead. If it doesn't work, you still need to know. But until you do and implement, you don't have enough data to make any sort of a call, which we were talking about this earlier with my approach to new agent coaching. There are certain statistics and metrics that show that that has been successful. It's because I try to implement things quickly. So now you have a data set that you can lean on to say, let's make some changes. I had to, as a new agent coach, give you that data set quickly over the last 90 days, 120 days, so that then you can make decisions. If I'm too slow to provide the data set, nothing changes.
Yeah, and I would rather have the data set with mistakes rather than no data set at all. And I think that's the thing, is even when you're making mistakes, you're still being proactive and doing things. I saw my favorite clip of a football highlight over the weekend. It was Dan Lanning, the head coach for the Oregon Ducks, one of the top 5 teams in the country. They showed a clip of one of his running backs going and scoring a touchdown. And at the same time, one of the wide receivers was pancaking a dude in the end zone, putting the defender on his back. And they asked him, they said, how do you feel about the energy? And he goes, well, I have to be honest, he was blocking the wrong guy. But he blocked his ass off, and it still worked. They still scored a touchdown, and there's still things that you can do to correct it. But if you're going to make a mistake, making it at 100 miles an hour is always going to be better than slow playing it. I think that's what ultimately my knowledge of being in this business for 13 years, I've come to the realization that you're going to make mistakes. There is no way to do any job, I think, completely perfect. There is no way to hit this with 100% accuracy ever. And so if you can make that acceptance, if you can accept it and say we're flawed humans trying to learn how to do things that we've never done before, mistakes are going to be made. If you understand that, then there's a finite amount of mistakes that you're going to make before you score the touchdown. There's a finite amount of mistakes that you're going to get before you get that next deal under contract. So the sooner that you can make those mistakes, the sooner that you will win. I think going back to our conversation earlier about real estate agents being convention junkies, I think most real estate agents are idea junkies. That's the vibe I've been having in the office for the last 60 days, and we addressed it with the team. I said, every agent that I'm talking to right now has these grand aspirations, has these really cool ideas, has these really cool, unique things that I think will push their business further, even if they're wrong. I have made so many mistakes since taking this job over. We have spent money, we've spent thousands of dollars on things that did not work, and we lit it on fire and we moved to the next. And now our office is on pace to have our biggest month ever, 18 months in, just like it's supposed to be. Those mistakes are inevitable. Your speed at which you conquer those mistakes is not.
Yeah. And the last thing I'll say before we wrap up, in order to do that, you have to keep your ego in check, which I always give you a lot of credit for, because it's difficult to burn something to the ground that you have kind of staked your claim on. So it's not a reflection of you. If you wanted all of us to be YouTubers and you went out and spent $3,000 on cameras, totally bomb, nobody did it, that doesn't mean you suck. It's not a reflection of you. It's an idea that was tested, didn't work, pivot, move on. It doesn't affect you. It doesn't make you feel insecure. Does that come natural to you? Did you learn that?
I think it's just what I said earlier. It's a learned behavior. When I first started, I was working for my dad's company. I was trying to make my own name for myself. I was young. I was 24 years old, stepping into a sales role, and all I wanted to do was be the number one agent. So I was very apprehensive about making mistakes early on because I needed it to go perfect.
Right.
Now I don't care about that because I don't care if somebody looks at it and says it's wrong, because to me, a mistake is more of a time concept than it is a principle concept. And here's what I mean. We talked about the YouTube. We tried to get 6 agents. We pulled them aside. We said, we're going to buy you these cameras. We're going to spend $3,000 to help start putting out YouTube content from a team-wide perspective. We had done it with short form. I thought it'd be easy to plug and play the long form. I was wrong. One of those 6 agents, though, now we're a year removed from lighting that thing on fire and starting at zero. One of those agents just came into my office for their one-on-one, and his last parting comment to me was, I realized that when I was making long-form content, vlog-style content, I was a lot more engaged in this job because I had to be paying attention to what I was doing. And so to me now, if I spent $3,000 to help an agent realize that about their business, am I okay with that? Absolutely. Do I look at that as a mistake now with a year down the road? No. So I think agents, if you can look at this and just understand that a mistake is a time concept, not a principle concept, a mistake is going to lead you to those things quicker, and it's going to help you learn more than getting it right. Oftentimes, I think that was the superpower that I had when I got started, is I had a lot of natural intuition in this job, and a lot of the things that I was trying was correct. But what I realized is I was a year into the business and I had never done an audit to see what I was doing that was actually working. So just because you go and hit a home run really, really quickly doesn't mean that you actually won unless you can go and learn from it the same way as mistakes.
100%. That's all we got.
That's all we got. We'll see you guys next time on the Future Agent Podcast.